Hey guys, Christina C. Jones here again to talk more with you about this whole self-publishing thing. So, it's been kind of a goal of mine this year. You heard me talk about it if you watched my 2021 goals video. Just doing more to have more of a process when it comes to my publishing. I know a lot of times people will ask me how to do this, how to do that, and I'm like, sis, I'm just running on vibes over here. And for 2021, we're trying to do less of just, just going with the flow, just going with the feeling, and do a little more to present ourselves more professionally. And to that end, today, actually, I had a cover reveal over on Girl Have You Read. So I figured since I'm doing a cover reveal today, what better next topic to take on than imagery? Let's get into it. So, first things first, people are very visual, right? We see it all over the place on social media. There's a whole social media app dedicated to pictures. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Everything is all about what you're putting forth, what you're putting in front of people. Oftentimes it's the first impression that they're going to get of your work, and so you want to make sure that you're presenting something that is polished, and even if it's not necessarily professional, because you're not a professional graphic designer, you can at least give them something that looks good and doesn't look like you just kind of threw it together in Paint Shop or whatever, and Microsoft Paint. Whatever, we want to do something a little more than that, because what I've seen is that that's a very easy way to get people to immediately write you off. Your book could be the best book in the world, but if the cover, not saying that the cover or the images that you're using to promote have to be the most groundbreaking or anything like that, but they should at least, like at the very least, they need to be pleasant to look at. And so I'm going to give you a few little tips and all of that I can, so that at the very least you're presenting something that doesn't make people turn their noses up like, what is that? So, like many things, graphic design is a skill, and it's not a skill that everyone has. And even if let's say everyone does have it, as with any skill, the more you practice with it, the more you develop it, the more you'll be able to grow. And that's not to say that you're going to be at the level of a professional graphic designer, but you will at least be able to create the imagery for covers, playlist imagery, promotions, different things like that you need for your brand. I cannot recommend enough practicing, even if at first you have to hire it out. I'll talk about hiring it out a little later, but even if you do have to hire it out, I would very strongly recommend taking the time to get to know at least some free tools. You can use things like Photopea and Canva. They both have free options, free tools. Canva has images and stuff that you'll be able to play around with, like stock images and stuff that are there that you'll be able to play around with. They have templates and different things like that. It's not necessarily my preference as a former graphic designer, self-trained. So let's dispel that right there. I'm absolutely self-trained, and it came with practice. But anyway, I would recommend trying to use those free tools to do as much as you can, and don't just put something together and then get frustrated because, okay, this isn't looking like what I wanted it to look like, but I'm done with it. No, stop, take a break from it. If you need to, take a breather, go outside, get some air, go get coffee, whatever you need to do, come back to it the next day, come back to it next week. But don't settle because you're frustrated when you have the opportunity to keep going, to keep learning. There's YouTube videos all over the place about using these tools, and not just YouTube videos. There's old school articles with screenshots and stuff that will teach you how to do everything you could possibly need to do. The only difference between doing it and not doing it is having that practice. And so don't get frustrated and just put something out, because again, as much as we may like it or not, we're absolutely being judged by the image that we present, by what we put forth to people. And if you get known for raggedy images, that that can follow you. And again, people will automatically write you off because if they see that image that looks like there was no time or no thought put into it, and they think that it's a reflection of your work. Whether or not that's true, they don't know, but it's their money that they're spending. Why would they take a chance on someone who's presenting imagery that doesn't look like they put any time into it? It's just something to think about. Now, speaking of the imagery, you have options. You definitely have options. What you do not want to do is go to Google, type something in, and then use something that you found on Google. Absolutely not. That is a violation, most likely, of that person's copyright, of the person who took that picture. It's most likely a violation of their copyright. And that's not something that you want to get involved with from a legal standpoint, first of all, and then from an ethical standpoint. You don't want anybody taking your work and using it for whatever, for whatever they want to do. Don't do that to other creators either. Not when you have options. A free option would be someplace like Unsplash. That's not really my preference, just because again, I like to pay people for their work. When people are doing, when I'm using someone's stock images that they created, when I'm using someone's fonts that they created, someone's brushes, whatever, all of that stuff, I like to pay for it so that whoever made that for me to be able to use is getting something from it. Because again, I don't want anybody using my stuff for free unless I specifically give it out for that reason, which Unsplash, I believe they have, their imagery has, I can't remember which licensing level it's called, but you do want to make sure that you're looking at that when you use images from free websites. You need to know what kind of license they're offering. Is this just free for personal use? If it's free for personal use, you are not supposed to be using it to promote your product, which is exactly what your book is. It's a product. Personal use means you're not supposed to be using it for that. Now, if it has a commercial use license, then okay, that's cool. But even commercial use licenses have some limitations as well. So you want to make sure to, when you're downloading images from sites that are purported to be free, make sure that you're digging in and finding all the information that you need to make sure that you're not taking advantage of another creative. My recommendation and what I do is pretty much any image that you see me use, I either took it myself or I've purchased the appropriate license for it from Deposit Photos, Adobe Stock, iStock, People Images. There's a ton of different stock image sites. You can also go directly to some photographers. Some photographers will have like a stock of images or like a database that of their photography that they sell as stock photography, where you can purchase a license for that. That's another option. And these options range in cost. Like there is, once you start going towards stock imagery, there is a cost for it. More likely than not, the cheaper the image is, like from like Deposit Photos, for example, versus Adobe Stock, where you have to have a subscription to use Adobe Stock. If you don't have did I say a prescription? A subscription. If you don't have the subscription, the price is very high, but you either pay this high price for the single image or you pay for the subscription. But either way, it's a filtering tool, right? This relatively cheaper image that I'm going to get from Deposit Photos is much more likely, especially in an industry like mine, Black romance, where there's just not a ton of stock imagery featuring Black people or Black couples available. It's just not. And so when you have a relatively inexpensive image, it's more likely that a lot of people have used that same image versus, like I said, Adobe Stock, where you either need a subscription or you're going to be paying a high price for it. And then you have in between like iStock. iStock you can just buy credits, but they're similar. Once you figure the cost out, it's really similar in cost to Adobe Stock. But you have those different images, and then you'll have something like Stocksy or the other one is or Getty Images. There's another one that I can't remember the name of, but I never buy their images because it's like $400. It's like $400 per image, and so I've never purchased a license from them because it was like crazy expensive. I won't say crazy expensive. It was more than my budget for such a thing. But you do just want to kind of be mindful of that as you're moving along, and be willing to be a little creative with the pictures. If your budget is deposit photos, that's okay. Even if it's an image that you purchase your image and then the next day you see that image on somebody else's cover, that's not the end of the world. Get creative with it, move it around, zoom into a certain area, crop it a certain way, put certain filters, and use certain effects and stuff to differentiate, to make it so that, okay, this is the same image, but it doesn't look like exactly the same thing. I'm not just putting this image down with no type of editing or anything like that, slapping some font on top of it or slapping some text on top of it and calling it a day. No, take your time and really put some effort into it. Speaking of not stealing, basically, a lot of times I know that there are sites that do those deals and stuff where you can get this huge font package for only $19.99. Be careful with that, because sometimes those fonts have not been purchased within a proper license to bundle them in the first place, and then not just to bundle them, spread it out around the world for a very low price. So be careful with that. My recommendation, I don't really buy fonts like that. My recommendation, I go to something like myfonts.com where I'm picking a specific font. It can get expensive. I have fonts that I've paid $40 or $50 for, and that's low end. That's not even the most expensive. I actually have a couple that I've paid like $80 for, because I wanted the full license, to be able to use that font and never have to worry about someone coming to me saying, hey, you're using something that belongs to me and you're using it without my permission. I don't have to worry about that. I have a specific font. I have a specific license for that font, and the font is licensed for the specific thing that I'm using it for, which when it comes to book covers, especially if you're going to print, that can get a little tricky. So again, just be careful. Make sure that you're not taking advantage of anybody. The information is there. And if the information is not there on the site that you're getting whatever resources you're getting from, chances are they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and you don't really want to be involved in that. If in doubt, hire it out. That is advice that can apply to so much, like so much in life, and specifically within this self-publishing thing. But definitely for this, if all that stuff that I was talking about sounded a little too intimidating for you, you are not that's not really where you want to be, go to somebody, hire it out. There's websites like Fiverr, and I believe there's other ones that you can hire, hire someone to create those graphics for you. But again, be careful, because everybody isn't on the up and up. And so make sure that whoever you're hiring for these things are doing things in the way that they should be doing them, because you're not shielded from getting in trouble just because I paid somebody else to do it. I didn't know. You still got to take it down, and now you've lost your money too. So just be careful with that, especially with places like Fiverr, where you don't really know who you're dealing with. But aside from Fiverr, there are several Black women in our Black literary community who have built out their graphic design chops, and they offer not just pre-made stuff, which is a big thing, especially if you're on a budget. I would highly recommend getting a professionally designed pre-made cover, where you just you see it, you like it, it fits your book, and you just all that has to be done is your name and your title added to that pre-made cover. They also offer custom work. Roseville Designs from D Rose, Aquarius Design Agency from MT Dixon, Brianne Dene, she does covers and she does some really beautiful work. Mercy Carruthers does covers, she does some beautiful work. And there is somebody else who I cannot think of right now. I'm so sorry if you're watching this and this is you. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. I can't think of it. Even if you are hiring out, think outside the box and be creative and be original. It's okay, especially if you're, if you're hiring someone for custom work. It's okay to show them covers like, hey, I love the vibe of this. I love, the usage of fonts in this. I love, the colors here. But make sure that you're putting your own spin on it. Make sure that you're kind of charting your own path and paving your own way, because once you do, you will have, kind of set your own tone and kind of it's part of your branding. Like, I feel like when people see my covers, they know it's a Christina C. Jones cover. Even covers that I've done for other people, they see it, and there are certain elements that that are there. And what I've kind of seen is that that gets picked up by others, which is which it happens. Everybody is inspired by somebody, but I cannot recommend enough trying to kind of make your own way and stand out and set your own signature for your branding, for your covers, for your promos, for whatever you're going to do. Make sure that it matches the theme and the vibe of your book. And yeah, I think that's all. I'm probably, I don't have any more time. I have to stop this, but as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope that I was able to drop something that was helpful for you. If you have questions and stuff, feel free to drop those in the comment box, because I can always, take those and do a different video about that, even if it's not, necessarily what this particular video was about. Or maybe I'm going to talk about that in a different video, and I need, this is an element like, hey, when you talk about this, can you make sure to mention that? All of that. So just let me know. But again, I hope this was helpful, and I'll holla. Bye. I didn't do that this time. I'm doing it now so I can make sure that I didn't do it this time. Bye.